There are three pitchers whose ERA projection starts with a 2 next year. Paul Skenes, 255 ERA projection. Tarek Skubal, 274. Spencer Strider, 296. And then everybody else is over 3. So already you can tell there, Paul Skenes is a 255. It's not even like Spencer Strider, 296. Yes, it's Paul Skenes' world, and we're all just living in it.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sports Night interview. I am Evan Groat, and we are now just a couple of days away from opening day in Major League Baseball. We are joined today by our guest, Sarris, who is a baseball writer for The Athletic. And there's a number of topics that I want to cover with you from around the league. And I saw that you have your bold prediction story out right now on The Athletic. So I do want to ask you a little bit about that as well. But first of all, I know this is a busy time of the year for you, so I want to thank you for giving us a few minutes today.
Yeah, no problem. It's the best time of the year. Everybody, hope springs eternal. Everyone's team is great. We're all, well, not the Marlins.
Yes, absolutely. Very exciting time of the year. I want to start out by asking you about another lowly team, and that's the crazy story going on with the White Sox. As if they needed any more bad news. They've lost five pitchers, I should say, maybe even 6 to Tommy John surgery during spring training. Now, I know that the number of elbow injuries to pitchers is up significantly over the last couple of years, but this is remarkable with what they're dealing with. So I guess my question to you, what I want to get your take on is, do you think we've reached a point in baseball where the league needs to step in and do something drastic, because this is a drastic problem they have? So they need to take drastic measures, whether that is implementing mandatory innings limits or pitch counts or mandatory rest periods between starts. I mean, I know that the baseball purists may not like that idea, but again, I'm thinking outside the box here. What's your take on that?
I mean, the good news is that baseball knows this is a problem, has started the process. They did a really big report where they went around and asked a bunch of people in baseball. I'd wish that it had been more definitive, because really what came out of it was a little bit like people are saying, but at least it was, hey, what are the smart people around baseball saying is the problem? And the problem is that we've discovered, through analytics, but just it's pretty obvious when you watch the game that velo is incredibly important. And that, there was even a GM that said that velo, like a pitcher's velocity, is the number one single component that predicts future success. Once we discovered that, we started training for it, weighted balls, and pitchers started throwing closer to their maximum. So the pitchers are now throwing. It is true, if you think that they're maxing out more often, they are. They're throwing closer to their maximum with every season as a group, and that means more and more stress on the arm every time they throw. But sometimes, it's not obvious what the answer is, if it's going to be biomechanics or if it's better, better fatigue tracking and that sort of stuff. And I think that they don't want to tell people how to take care of their players necessarily.
Yeah.
But there are going to be, I think, some rules that they'll consider. One is the linking the starting pitcher to the DH. Doesn't leap off the page as why that helps, but what that does is it incentivizes having your pitcher go deeper into the game. If you want your pitcher to go deeper into the game, he has to throw more types of pitches. He can't throw all fastballs. He can't max out. He has to train for a different type of game. He has to train for 7 innings, because you want to keep that DH in the game longer. Because once you take the starting pitcher out, you take the DH out. So that's a rule that they're considering. There are other ways to try and do this. One that I like is have an active roster like they have in the NHL. And then you basically start to have a conversation between the teams and the players, being like, our numbers say you need to not pitch today. Like, we need to keep you out of the game for this reason. Why it might be happening with the White Sox, I think it's probably a little bit like what's happening with the Rays and the Dodgers, which is what you do if you are faced with this problem sometimes as a team, is you say, okay, I just want to have a ton of arms. I'm going to get a ton of arms, and half of them are going to be hurt, And I think that the White Sox, trying to climb their way out of the basement, are saying, hey, we'll take your Rule 5 Shane Smith, that throws really hard, and we'll try to make something of him. If he gets hurt, that's great. He's on the IL for us, So I think that it is obviously concerning, but it might be part of the design, which is just bring in a bunch of iffy pitchers that might get hurt, and hopefully we have enough when the bell rings in October.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. Now speaking of Tommy John surgery, Garrett Cole of the Yankees, he was went under the knife just a couple weeks ago himself to have the surgery done. Also, the Yankees looks like they're going to be without Luis Heel for up to 3 months, and even Clark Schmidt, not quite sure. He's not 100%, not quite sure if he'll be ready to start the season. So, getting into the Yankees starting rotation a little bit, do you think this team is toast without Garrett Cole, possibly Luis Heel and Clark Schmidt for an extended period of time?
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems was that with the big trades that they've swung, which I laud them, go get Juan Soto, go to the World Series. That's a great idea. But in those trades, they gave up a lot of their pitching depth. And so the guys that would be stepping up right now to step into those positions are now on other teams. And that makes it a little bit harder when they have to reach even further into the cupboard to guys that haven't really seen the big leagues even. Cam Schlittler has never pitched a big league game and might pitch 100 innings for them this year. So, it's really going to test their player development. I do think that this is going to be a decent lineup, but the lineup also has old people in it, to be honest. I mean, we're talking about Giancarlo Stanton has bad elbows, not just one, two. And so if he goes down, and DJ LeMahieu is already down, and Paul Goldschmidt is pretty old himself, the disaster level on this Yankees team is through the roof. I mean, this could be an epically terrible season. They have spent a lot of money to put together players, and maybe they'll just middle along. Maybe they'll even be a wild card team, but I can't see them winning the division. And I'd say the collapse percentage is 30-40%.
Wow. Now I'm a Yankees fan, so that's not what I wanted to hear you say. But anyways,
no, I mean that's still a decent projection. It's the collapse rate you didn't want to hear about.
Yeah, right. That's what I meant. Yeah. I don't want to hear the word collapse and the Yankees in the same sentence. But
that's right.
Now I also saw on the Athletic you have your list of top starting pitcher rankings, and of course Paul Skenes is at the top of that list, followed by Skubal and Zach Wheeler. And, it's a small sample size that we got to see from Paul Skenes last year. I believe it was only 130 innings pitched, but he lived up to the hype that he had surrounding him when he came to the major leagues. My question is, how big of a gap is it between Skenes and the rest of the guys? Is he in a league of his own?
I mean, I have a number called Stuff Plus, which basically looks at all the physical characteristics of a pitcher's pitches. And we've found a way to take that Stuff Plus and improve our pitcher projections. And there are 3 pitchers whose ERA projection starts with a 2 next year. Paul Skenes, 2.55 ERA projection. Tarek Skubal, 2.74. Spencer Strider, 2.96. And then everybody else is over 3. So already you can tell there, Paul Skenes is a 2.55. It's not even like Spencer Strider 2.96. Yes, it's Paul Skenes' world, and we're all just living in it.
Yeah. Now, Skenes was last year's breakout player in the league. We all know that as a rookie. Who are some starting pitchers this year that you think could be that guy as a breakout candidate?
I mean, I think Roki Sasaki is the easy answer, but I have some concerns about his fastball. His breaking, I mean, his changeup, his splitter is amazing, but I have some concerns. I think Gavin Williams is a guy. He's a second-year guy in Cleveland. He leads my Stuff Plus guys in the spring. He also struck out 40% of the batters he saw this spring. So he looks really nasty. He has a really big 97-mile-an-hour fastball with a 91-mile-an-hour slider and a big curve. I think he's going to be a big breakout candidate. And he's over in Cleveland, so he doesn't have to battle Paul Skenes for any hardware.
Yeah. Just to kind of follow that up with a question on a similar topic, I mentioned your bold predictions story that you have out right now on The Athletic. You listed James Wood as this year's potential Ellie De La Cruz. Besides Woods, or maybe Woods might be this guy, who is a player this year that might not be a household name right now to fans, but by the end of the year, everyone's going to be talking about him?
Well, I mean, James Wood is the easy answer because he looks like Ellie De La Cruz.
Yes,
I mean, he's pretty amazing in just the size and the speed and the ability to hit rockets. I don't know. Maybe people know Wyatt Langford already, but Wyatt, he was a high draft pick, but he wasn't. He didn't have a great rookie season. I think he's going to bust out. I bold predicted him to be an all-star this year. He has power and speed, and he does everything that you want him to do. So I think that's a big breakout guy right there too.
More with your bold predictions, you list the Philadelphia Phillies as the team you think will have the best starting rotation. Now, you point out the fact that many of the other rankings out there and some of the projections and metrics out there don't agree with this, but explain to us why you feel that.
Yeah, actually, it was that they would have the entire staff, like they have the best pitching staff in baseball, and part of it is that one thing they really emphasize in Philadelphia is for everyone to have multiple fastballs. This has been a big deal. The Mets have been big in on this. A couple other teams, the Mariners. But by having like multiple fastballs, you always have the right fastball to throw to the right type of player. There are going to be guys who are scoopy that don't want to throw them a sinker. There are guys with flat swings you don't want to throw them a four seam. Also lefties, righties, you have the right fastball. If you have a cutter, a sinker, and a four seam. So anyway, the Phillies, all their starters have multiple fastballs. Most of them have three, and what that does, it also allows them to go deeper into games. And so I referenced a study by Louis Polis saying that if every inning that your starting pitcher throws today lowers the ERA by the bullpen tomorrow by like 7 points. So what you're doing is you're saving the bullpen. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's happening, but if they're such a good and they're projected, the Phillies are projected to have the most quality starts in the big leagues, meaning they're going to go six. So if they have all these pitchers that can go six and have multiple fastballs, turn the lineup over, they're going to save their bullpen. And even though their bullpen's not considered to be one of the best bullpens in the big leagues, it's going to overperform.
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense to me. And then the final bold prediction that I wanted to ask you about. Now, again, as a Yankee fan, I hope this doesn't come true, but you say the Boston Red Sox will reach the World Series. Now, they had a tough year last year, winning only 81 games, but they did have a pretty good offseason. They brought in Alex Bregman kind of as the centerpiece of their free agent class. Tell us why the Red Sox reached the World Series this year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the bigger move was trading for Garrett Cole from the White Sox because that gives them an ace. They didn't really have an ace before. What they've also done over the last bit is really revamp their player development for pitching. And what you look is maybe they don't have the best group of pitchers behind them, but they do have 6 or 7 guys behind them. Walker Buehler's in there, Brian Bayo. They've started to develop depth in the pitching staff. And on the hitting side, they have the number one prospect in baseball, no matter whose list you look at, is either Roman Anthony or Christian Campbell, because they also have another guy who's in the top 10 in every list. Christian Campbell just made second base, out of spring, so they've got youth there. But they also have guys in Ceddanne Rafaela and David Hamilton, guys who can play all over. So they have really good utility. And then they have these great veterans in Alex Bregman and Rafael Devers, So it's like they have the old guys, they have the young guys. It's a really good mix. And they have plans. If Trevor Story gets hurt, they're not like they have David Hamilton. You know what I mean? Like they have backup plans at every position. It's kind of like how I like to build my fantasy leagues. I like to have multi-positional guys because then if somebody gets hurt, I don't have to be like, I need a shortstop. I can say, ooh, I just need a middle infielder, or I just need a utility guy because I just moved my guy over the other shortstop I had. I moved him in.
Yeah. Great stuff today. I appreciate your time. I want to give you a chance to plug some of the work you got coming up here. But before I do that, you can find Eno on X at Eno Sarris. And please go ahead, tell us about some of the work that we should be on the lookout for.
Well, I'm my Rates and Barrels podcast is free for all, and everywhere you find podcasts, we look at baseball from an analytical standpoint. We're doing live shows in San Francisco. So if anybody's listening is in San Francisco, we're going to be at Bear Bottle on Thursday and Friday at 4:30. We'll be watching Giants opening day before that. So anybody out on the West Coast, if you're in San Francisco, Bear Bottle and Bernal Heights, live shows this Thursday and Friday at 4:30 p.m. We'll be there a little bit early to watch the Giants opening day. That's what's going on in my life, other than all the pieces I just put out. I need to take a breather right now. I just wrote like 30,000 words in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, the fun's just getting started as we are now just a couple of days away from opening day. We appreciate the time today and keep up all your great work.
Thanks for having me.